Good morning, everybody. It's Kimberly, and today I have a very special video for you. I have been channeling for a while that the higher beings, like Mother Mary, has been coming to me, and the archangels and ascended masters. So you guys know how I do the messages from the Masters series. So I've been channeling that they've been wanting to talk with us from a higher level about toxic relationships. Mother Mary specifically has come forward, and I know that she wants me to do the automatic writing while I have the camera on. So the first half of this video is going to be me channeling Mother Mary, and we're going to do a card spread from the Ascended Masters and Angels around this to get more clarity on what their messages are to us. The second half of the video, and I'll try to include a timestamp, is going to be me teaching. And so I'm going to be teaching about toxic relationships. So probably be me in front of the camera just teaching. So I think all of it's relevant, pertinent, and I know a lot of you encounter this along this journey. I think everybody does encounter toxic relationships at some point in some capacity, whether it's familial or through a relationship. But especially on the twin flame path, I feel like a lot of people, I've worked with thousands of people over the past 4 years, and I think it's part of this journey. I really do. I believe it's part of this journey. I believe it's part of the awakening. And so let's channel and see what the higher beings are saying, and then we can get into kind of how I want to teach you what this is and how to heal it and clear it, and purpose, meaning, what it means for even twin flames. So I know there's a lot of confusion around that, okay? So I'm just going to grab a pen for the board. Okay, so I've been hearing Mother Mary's voice very clearly. She keeps saying child. She keeps saying child, child, oh my child, oh child, oh my child, oh my children. So she's going to come through like that. I know. I've just spent a while kind of interacting with her. And so let's just see how this comes through. Okay, so this is in regards to those who are awakening, ascending, twin flames that are on this journey that have encountered or are encountering, toxic relationships. This could be narcissism or any level of toxicity. Okay, so okay. Can you guys see this? I hope so. All right, so she says, There's more too that wants to come through, but I'll get through this. I'll kind of translate it to you, and then I will clear it and keep writing. She says, "Too little, my child. Acceptance will not do. It is the stagnancy that injures you. Keep moving beyond what is comfortable, beyond what is imaginable. You are golden. You are light. Too little, my child. You are so much more." So I'm going to read that again. "Too little, my child. Acceptance will not do. It is the stagnancy that injures you. Keep moving beyond what is comfortable, beyond what is imaginable. You are golden. You are light. Too little, my child. You are so much more." So I feel like what she's saying is that we don't acknowledge our full value, that we're taking too little or accepting too little. She's saying in the acceptance of what is in these relationships comes the stagnancy that injures you. So that's really interesting. So the word stagnancy and acceptance, and it's almost like the staying, the holding, the staying. She's saying keep moving beyond what's comfortable, beyond what's imaginable. Even if you think there couldn't be better or whatever. She's saying you are golden, you are light. Too little, my child, you are so much more. Okay, there's more that wants to come through, so I'm just going to keep going. Okay, so she says, we must step away from what is not right and just. We must remember who we are. Love. To love oneself is the ultimate. Remember, child, who you are. Okay, so I'm going to read it again. We must step away from what is not right and just. We must remember who we are. Love. To love oneself is the ultimate. Remember, child, who you are. Okay? I don't know if you guys have goosebumps, but I do. I feel like these words are especially powerful, and even though they're simple, you can feel Mother Mary's love in it and her reminder. I'm going to keep going. I feel like there's a little bit more that she wants to get across to us. And I, too, will have to go back and watch this and remember the messages. So this might be something that you need to rewind. Maybe you want to write down the messages for yourself and then keep going, okay? Sorry, I think when I erased, it just threw off, it broke my connection. So I'm just trying to get the connection back. So just give me a minute. Okay. She says, shake it off, child. It won't be easy to leave what we love, to leave what we know. And the know is like emphasized, like in quotations. Sorry, we're getting glare here from my light. Try to turn the light a little bit. Okay. Oop, that didn't work. Hold on a second. I don't know what to do. Yeah, we're gonna diminish the light. Okay, sorry. We'll just hold this at a different angle. All right, so she says, shake it off, child. It won't be easy to leave what we love, to leave what we know, in quotes. Know thyself now like no other. Try, and try again, for leaving is not giving up. It is the ultimate surrender to self. So this, I feel like she's talking about when we have to break from these relationships, and there's a lot of, there being like the ultimate self. Ultimate is a word that comes through. Now, I don't use this word every day, so I feel like the emphasis on this word is really important. It's like the ultimate relationship is self, is what she's trying to say. I'm going to read this again. Shake it off, child. It won't be easy to leave what we love, to leave what we know. Know thyself now like no other. Try, and try again, for leaving is not giving up. It is the ultimate surrender to self. Okay, and she has one more aspect that I know wants to come through. I feel her still chattering and talking to me. And this has been so important. It's been a good week that I've been getting these messages and feeling like I need to do this video. So she's been trying to pull at me for a while to get these messages through to the collective. So know if you are seeing this, like you are truly meant to see it. Okay. So she's saying, the one who loves you, child, is everyone. So this is a reminder that there's not just one that loves us. Don't search so hard to find it. It is everywhere. Connection exists with all. Don't be afraid, for love surrounds you. Oh, sorry, I couldn't read that. You must encapsulate yourself. Now, did she use the word encapsulate? I don't know. What I saw was, I heard the word billowy. cloud. I felt someone being truly encapsulated in like a cloud, like something like encapsulating you. So that's the word that came to me. You must encapsulate yourself in it to believe. So I'll read that again more cohesively. The one who loves you, child, is everyone. Don't search so hard to find it. It is everywhere. Connection exists with all. Don't be afraid, for love surrounds you. You must encapsulate yourself in it to believe it. So that means you've got to give it to yourself in order to receive it, in order to believe it and trust it. So I'm going to leave the writing now, even though I feel her presence so strongly. She's going to come through the cards, and we'll just see what the messages are. These dry erase boards really make a mess. I don't know why it's so messy. Okay. All right, so I have pulled, this is like an oracle spread. This is going to be for, like with the archangels and your guides. So I basically am pulling from decks that I feel like from the humanistic level are going to pull from our more human guide team. And then at a higher level, I've got the angel decks and the ascended master decks. So let's just see what comes up. So it's going to kind of be slow because I'm going to shuffle each deck appropriately. I'm not going to flip right side up. We're going to flip down and then try to reveal all the messages at once. Okay? It's just how I'm being shown to do it. So bear with me. I'll try to talk a little bit. I know those messages are really, this might be a good time to, if you want to write down those messages, to kind of rewind and feel the impact of what she's telling us. Okay. So this is the Ascended Masters deck, and these are the archangels right here. Wow, popping out. I also feel like the reason why I'm doing this at this time was because of this full moon lunar eclipse is like a great time to clear any toxicities or any attachments from the past that we might still be carrying forward into the future that's holding us back. So the nurture card just popped out. So it's about nurturing ourselves. Okay. And from the angel deck. Whoa. So I'm going to do the higher messages first, and then we'll go through and we'll kind of expand on that with the not lower messages, but more like the advice from a practical sense and from like your guide team. Okay, so let's just see what we have here. Peace offering, you can do it, and this is artistic expression, which is Paul the Venetian. We have remember who you are. Look at that. That is, remember, that's what she said in the automatic writing. That's huge. That's Mother Mary coming through for you. And this is Archangel Michael, who is one of her messengers. So that is a huge message. Remember who you are. Okay, clear audience and indigo crystal and crystal children. I'm going to talk about all of these in a minute. Solar plexus chakra, which is your power center. This is where this is what needs to be worked on when we are not in alignment with our power and when we call in these toxic relationships. The throat chakra, this is when we're not speaking our truth. So there's a lot of chakra stuff. And twin flames. Okay, so very interesting. All right, so how do I want to start? Well, I want to start with this. So remember who you are. Archangel Michael, you're a powerful, loving, creative child of God. You are very loved. And this is what she was saying. Love is all around you. We must believe that we are loved. I think a lot of times we stay in toxic relationships. How we attract them and why we attract them energetically is one thing. And I will talk about that with you guys in depth in the next segment. And it's probably the most important part of all of this, to understand why we're calling it in and what it is for our journey, but how we can clear it energetically within us. But I think that the message is, you're a powerful, loving, creative child of God. You are very loved, is this reminder that we don't need to stay stagnant, right? Or accepting what is when something isn't right for us and the connection to our divinity. So in the connection with your divinity, to remember who you are, to remember that love's all, that you don't, like she said, that you don't have to stay in that acceptance where it gets stagnant and that injures you. Keep moving, she's saying. Keep moving as you step out of anything that's dark or toxic. You step into love. The love surrounds you. It encapsulates you. It's everywhere. It's everyone. It's not just one person. It's everyone. So sometimes I think the hardest part about toxic relationships is that it's very hard to leave. And we get caught in pain recovery cycles, in toxic cycles that keep us. And many of you can identify with that, whether it's a relative or someone that you've been in romantic relationships with who've been not healthy for you. And those pain recovery cycles are crazy because, and I'll explain it more in the next segment, but because you literally are craving the rush of knowing that everything's okay, it's going to be okay, after a period of things being threatened or feeling like the relationship might be at stake or might be taken away. And that's not healthy. Love is just all around. When you're in a healthy relationship, love just exists. It just is. It's supportive. It's uplifting. And I'm sorry, I just have to take a sip of my celery juice. So we sacrifice ourselves, right? So she's really reminding us to remember who we are. Now, this is the clear audience that's coming up in reverse. So it's saying, notice the loving guidance you hear inside your mind from other people. So this is where it gets tricky. I think with toxic relationships, we don't want to hear the critics. We don't want to hear what everyone else thinks because we love this person and we love this person so much, almost to the fault where we have our blinders on with ourself, with the relationship with self, the ultimate relationship, as Mother Mary was saying. I do believe that we get signs in a huge way when we're not in that right place for us, when we're staying too long, when it's detrimental to us, when it injures us. And there is a time when that happens. People say, well, I must have had to stay in that so I could learn my lesson. I don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like you can learn the lesson and step away. Staying in it too long, or for this period of time in which it begins to injure you and become detrimental to you, is really, really injurious. This can take a toll on your physical health, your mental and emotional health. And I feel like they're always guiding us. When I was in these relationships, I used to get the clear words "run," and they used to come on license plates and people's t-shirts at the gym. It would just say "run," like run in the other direction was what they were trying to tell me. Or I'd get into the car and I'd hear songs like this is what this is reminding us of, songs or pieces of conversations in which there were clear signs coming through, like this is not healthy for you. So pay attention to what you're hearing, what you're seeing, and let it come through. so often we're so entrenched in our own, we're blindsided. And I will talk about why we're blindsided in the next segment, like I promised you guys. But we don't allow those messages to come through, and they want you to really listen to the guidance and follow it to save yourself. It is self-preservation, and it's not self-preservation in an act of resistance, however. It's a self-preservation in an act of love. It's almost like you escape this toxicity so you can become one with all, one with everyone, and feel the love that surrounds you. Love is everywhere. So when we talk about self-preservation, I think it's more of a stepping away to reconnect with our divinity. It's not to limit ourselves or to resist the other person. And I think that's part of how we need to look at leaving these types of relationships, is that in order for the other person in order for you to align with self, you must step away. In order for the other person to grow, heal, or change, because change is possible with some souls, right? Some souls have signed up to change and evolve. But that change with a toxic person isn't going to happen while you're standing there, and that is fact. Many people will say change is not possible with toxic people, especially narcissists. I don't believe that. I believe that they must do it on their own. And oftentimes, it has to be just like with you, where you have to step away to get that clarity, or they need to hit a rock bottom to realize that they want to change, or you need to step away to hear your guidance, to remember who you are, to get that clarity on your connection with self, what your values, morals are, so you can line up with it. So this is Indigo and Crystal Children. You have a bond with children. In particular, you can help children who are sensitive. This, I feel like, is about you helping other empaths who might be stuck in these cycles or might have a inclination to get involved with these types. We are empaths, most of us, because we incarnated into, because we are empaths, and most of us chose, to incarnate into some sort of a difficult environment that has negated or shut out those abilities, those compassionate abilities, those intuitive abilities, those nurturing abilities with others were called upon, almost used, almost extracted, in which we had to leave ourselves in order to be the band-aid or be the support. And in the leaving of self, we are not true empaths. We are actually become masochists. And it's through the masochism that we get involved in these toxic relationships. And I'll explain that more, like I said, in the later segment. But abandonment of self happens almost with every single person in the childhood wounding, especially those of you along this journey who are empaths and grew up in these difficult environments, chose to incarnate into these difficult environments. And you can help children who are sensitive by nurturing their sensitivities and guiding them and showing them the way, so that we don't repeat these cycles or patterns. Okay? Let's talk about the chakras and what this means in connection with twin flames. So I think a lot of what the twin flame brings in, and or even the catalyst, or what you guys call the false twin, which I think is silly, but like the catalyst relationships, I think it's silly. I don't mean to judge it. I'm just saying it's silly because everything is purposeful. If you find yourself identifying with this path, it's because you are a twin flame. And if you've teamed up with a twin who has toxic or narcissistic, traits, and or you are teaming up with a catalyst or someone who's there to just kind of spark your awakening, and you have to go deeper into the darkness to get that spark, it's all kind of the same. And there's a strength of connection that you encounter. There's a strength of soul level connection, past life remembrance, telepathy. This is what I hear across the board. So whether it's true twin flame or someone that you just have soul connection with, these very deep, profound relationships are coming in to spark a higher consciousness. Now, what is it helping us clear? Why is this beautiful love so painful? And how could that catalyst be the spark to help us heal? And so what they're showing me through these messages, and which makes perfect sense, is in reverse is the solar plexus and the throat chakra. This is where we're not speaking our truth. This is where we're not in our integrity and living our truth. So if we're not in our integrity, if we're not able to claim our power center because of our traumas, because of our wounding, because we've left ourselves, how can we ever speak our truth? So a lot of this process is about healing this. It's about coming into our power center. It's about lining up with our integrity. It's rediscovering what we desire, what we deserve, and then speaking our truth. And so many twin flames have throat chakra and solar plexus blockages, and this is what this journey is about. I'm going to talk more about it in the second half of this video. So the archangels, they're coming through with peace offering, you can do it in reverse, and artistic expression, which is Paul the Venetian. So I feel like if there's been a toxic relationship that you've left, or something that's been hard to leave, maybe there was not a peaceful ending, I don't necessarily feel like this is you making a physical peace offering. I feel like the peace offering comes in the changing of your vibration. So how do you do that? So a lot of you carry guilt, shame, how things play out. A lot of times these toxic relationships have like tower moments when they end, because that's just how it goes with the toxic person. So in that case, you are carrying, a lot of you, because you're so sensitive, you're carrying the guilt forward, and it's holding you stuck. The peace offering is not necessarily a reaching out and saying, hey, I want to give this to you, or I want to say, because really most of the time with toxic relationships, we say sorry too much when we need to be saying sorry to ourselves. This is about giving yourself that peace offering. It's about absolving yourself of the guilt that you have about maybe the way things ended, the way things played out. And that I feel like the message is through the shifting of your internal vibration, it lends peace to the other person, because what it does is it releases them. And when you go into a state of peace and alignment, it actually offers it to them as well. And I know that's hard to trust and believe, but that is the way it works. So when you find peace with it, when you're no longer energetically in turmoil or torment about it, feeling guilty, shameful, blaming, whatever that is, it helps the other person. It releases the attachment and the fear. Okay, we'll talk about how to do that later. So this to me is like so Archangel Michael is coming through again saying you can do it. This is artistic expression. This is where you need to channel your pain through your art, through your creativity. This is also where you get in touch back with yourself, and being creative, being playful, getting out in nature, doing anything artistic, doing anything creative is going to put you in alignment. And they're saying you can do it. And maybe those of you who struggle leaving, or struggling with leaving these types of relationships, or getting over them, or whatever that is, you need to spend more time in alignment with yourself. And how do you do that? Simple ways. And it's doing the things that bring you alive. It's doing the things that bring you into alignment. And creativity and artistic expression is one of the best ways to get closest to God, because you get out of your thinking, logical mind. You get into the essence of who you are, and you channel, you create, you channel from the other side. You pull in the holographic universe. You are creating, you are intermingling, commingling with God and the higher beings. You are creating, right? You're pulling in from the other side into physical form what you need to in order to express who you are. Now, this is not necessarily saying, oh, you need to go create a visual masterpiece. The art comes in so many different forms. And this is just the act of feeling good. This is just the act of creating. Could be a meal or cooking. It could be anything. It could be that you're not a visual artist and just throwing the paint on the canvas is therapeutic for you. And it's a form of expression that helps you clear these blocks here. I feel like these blocks, you know, you can move through it through creative expression. So that's really important. I think a lot of people resist it, but once you do it in some way, you're transmuting, it's amazingly healing and amazingly helpful. So let's see what our guides have to say, like our human guides want us to know. About toxic relationships and how to leave or how to honor ourselves. All right. So I saw this come through. I knew this was going to come out. So competition warrior guides. And this is imagination, inner child. So this is again in reverse. So this feels like this. Okay, this feels like you letting your inner child out, being creative, creative expression. This is going to help you move through all of this. Now, some of why we stay stuck in these relationships is this competition thing. This is where we feel like if we let go, somebody else is going to steal our love, or we won't be good enough, or we won't be loved, or we're in competition. Remember what Mother Mary's message was. It's like when you step back from what's not right, she's saying love is all around you. The one love that you're looking for is with everyone, And that in order to create that, you must create the ultimate relationship with yourself and bask yourself in that love. And this idea of competing with other people or feeling insecure, or feeling like, you know, I can't let go of this person because they're going to go fall in love with someone else or marry someone else, and that's my worst nightmare. You have to remember that you have to allow the other person to heal, and you have to allow them their space, their own lessons. They're going to learn in a different way than you are. You are very special. You are here to help the planet. You're here to do this deep healing. You're here because you're sensitive. You're here watching this video because you were chosen, or you chose this at a soul level. And it's this insecurity that needs to be healed. And it keeps you stuck sometimes in, oh boy, I think of the twin flame journey and these, yucky. Makes me want to vomit. That's why they just keep going, Keeps you stuck in these toxic cycles because you feel like if you let go, someone's going to steal your person, or it gives the karmic the chance to come back in, or it's a deep, deep fear that you have that you won't be loved, or you won't be accepted, or the other person will leave you for someone else, or someone else will be better than you. And this is where we need to resolve this. A lot of this can be healed and resolved through going into ourselves and connecting with our essence, remembering who you are, the artistic expression, the imagination, their inner child. Believe it or not, a great part of our healing rests in this. I think it's very hard for some people to get hooked up to that when they're in a place of despair and worry and fear. But if you can just move yourself into that space, I promise you there's so much healing and alignment there for you. Let's see what this is the Sacred Earth Oracle deck has to say. And this is going to be more grounded messages about this process from an earthly sense and a more practical sense. context, so we need more clarity on that. I'll hold the cards up in just a moment. Okay, alliance and repetition and perception. Okay. So all these are in reverse, which is interesting. So I'm going to show them to you upright. We have context, alliance, repetition, and perception. Okay, so I feel like they're talking about changing our perceptions about how we formed, the context in which we formed the alliance. This could be the original soul contract that keeps us in these cycles, okay? So that's basically what this message is. So this is about how we originally start these relationships, and I have absolute hair standing up, goosebumps. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we're on to something here. So this is obviously a longer video, so I hope you guys hang in there because there's so many good messages coming through, and I will, complement this with the second part of this video. So hopefully you stay tuned, or you watch some of it now, some of it later. All right, so the context in which you forged these alliances, you forged these bonds. At the beginning, when you have two wounded people showing up with wounded energy, so that could be that the toxic person, the one who's inflicting their pain or projecting on you, you are aligning with because you are a match vibrationally for that projection, because you are not aligned with self, because you have maybe the same root insecurities or fears, and maybe theirs shows or manifests through toxic behaviors, and or yours manifests or shows through you not living your truth or speaking your truth or being in your power, okay? So we forge the bond around this. So a lot of times I think this creates like a false bond, the illusion of a bond, when really you're bonded around the fear and pain. It's really important for you to acknowledge that at this time and kind of look at your relationship and ask, what am I bonded to? It's not saying that you didn't have connection. It's not saying that you didn't have love, but a lot of times the hook that keeps us stuck, that we are not able to get past or get over, is because of the way the relationship is set up, and it's set up in an unhealthy way. So as you begin to heal and come into alignment, or as these things are mirrored to you and you're shown like, oh boy, I can't stand this, or this is not healthy for me, you're still stuck on the context of which you started this relationship, which was the unhealthy vibration. And you cling to that thinking that it's the true bond, but it's not. And that's where we need to get really clear with ourselves. And this is going to help you move on. It's going to help you move into yourself. And these are patterns. These are patterns that we have repeated. And the true soul bond or true soul connection, okay, I'm not saying this right. There's something else they want to say. They want to say that this is also part of like your soul contract. So you might feel like the perception is that the soul contract is, this person feels like my marriage partner. This person feels like home to me. This person feels like they're everything to me, or this person feels like my future. But yet, the soul contract was a context which set up a bond to help you heal, to help you come into alignment. And that context is going to change. So when you come in and you're viewing the contract as such that it's what you kind of perceive from the soul level, which you're not far off base, like you feel the past lives, you feel the bond, you feel the connection. you look at it in that context, but really the alliance was made between two unhealthy humans who forged a bond around that. In order for that to shift, something needs to happen. So usually for the soul connection to develop more fully, for your connection at a soul level to heal in the physical, usually we need to step away, and that takes a shift in perception for sure. And so we stop repeating these cycles. So I hope that makes sense. I know it can be tough to look at it this way, but it's the truth. It's truly what happens in these relationships. We do bond through the toxicity, and I'm not negating at all the soul connection. That is there. But in order for that to develop more fully, a lot of times we do need to step away in the physical so that we can align with ourselves and give the other person the space and the opportunity to change and to grow and to expand. And it's through the 5D connection that we feel the truth of that bond so strongly. And so many people say when they leave these relationships, sorry, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Sorry. Excuse me. Excuse me. So it's interesting that I'm sneezing, talking about leaving these relationships. That, you know, you might be leaving something that was irritating you or not healthy for you, right? But once you step away and you get out of that construct of how you were originally bonded in the physical, you're able to let the soul bond come through. And that's why so many people who do leave these relationships come into alignment with themselves. They end up feeling so good once they're able to tap into the 5D and expand in that way. If you guys need tools for doing this, I have 5D connection tools for twin flames, and I feel like it really does help you honor the connection at that higher level so you could separate yourself in the physical. Or detach yourself in the physical. And those are available on my website for purchase if you want those. So very interesting messages. And I think I'm going to leave it there. So I'm going to shut off the camera now. I'm going to reopen talking to you guys in a little bit and going through some of these concepts and talking more about why we pair with toxic relationships and how we can heal from it. And then if you guys want to ask questions below or share your stories or whatever that is, I know this is always a big topic along this journey, and it's been a while since I posted a video, so feel free to comment below, and I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, so this is part 2 of that toxic relationship video. I hope that you got a lot out of the first half, like the channel messages and what came through the reading and all of that. I just want to expand upon that now, talk about more practically like why this happens and how we can work through it more fluidly, what it means for our journey, and also what it means for twin flames, because I think there's so much confusion about it. And I still see that some of my most watched videos are the videos on twin flames and narcissism and these sort of topics. So it's telling me that more of you, or some of you in the collective, need more information about this. So all right, so why do we line up with it? We line up with it. It's not that we encounter it. Encountering it seems like it's out of our control. And I don't mean to say it's your responsibility or that it's in your control, but it is in your control to not line up with it anymore. And that would require a more healed state, more healed self. And many of you know that. Not that it's your fault or that you, needed to withstand or be the victim again or needed to withstand any sort of abuse, because nobody deserves that. But it is happening at an energetic level because you were a match for it at some level. So what does that mean? And then we'll talk about toxic relationships, what those look like, what are the signs, symptoms, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to give you a couple books that you might want to read. So at an energetic level, how are you a matchup to someone who has narcissistic tendencies or is toxic in any way? So like I mentioned in the first half of the video, there has to be an energetic matchup for you to hold space with someone. And for twin flames, often like that runner chaser dynamic, this is because the wounds are being mirrored, right? And so the wounded part of yourself, like your subconscious wounds, are brought forth to match up with the other person's subconscious wounds. And so with a toxic person or someone who's narcissistic or has any, traits of that level, they bring forth the projection. So it's like they're wearing, I always describe as like a narcissist would be wearing like a side view mirror, and they can't look into that mirror to see themselves. So there isn't that level of self-awareness that you all have as like empaths and light workers. So they're not going to look into that mirror and see that reflection. So that reflection, their fears, their insecurities, all gets projected and deflected onto you. And in that situation, oftentimes for an empath or light worker who's grown up in a very maybe toxic, dysfunctional environment, a very rough upbringing, this brings up a lot of the same wounds that you had to withstand and survive as a child. This is why we see a lot of like the mirroring of our fathers and mothers through the twin flame. So when you're projected upon, even in being projected upon, you are lining up vibrationally with the energy to be protected upon. If you were completely healed or in a more healed state, you wouldn't be lining up with projection. So that's one thing to understand. Secondly, when you're inflicted upon or when you're projected upon, whether that be accused, controlled, manipulated, in these relationships, it's often a combination of those things: blamed, victimized, like I said, accused, blamed, victimized, controlled, manipulated, whatever combination that is that's occurring for you in these dynamics, you struggle at keeping yourself in alignment with yourself because you're not in alignment with yourself to begin with. And that's what this journey is about. It's about union with self. So what happens is two people who are separated from self, which is most of everyone separates with themselves through their wounding, come together to mirror, to help you come back into union with yourself. Now, with a toxic person, you can't change them. You staying longer or trying harder isn't going to change that person. So that's one thing that you must understand right away. What it does though is it damages you longer, and it's like if you stood in front of an abuser while they were slapping you and you walked away with the first slap, right? Then you would save yourself additional bruising and wounding, right? But if you stand there or you keep coming back and they keep hitting you, you're gonna be bruised up. You're gonna have scars. You're gonna have physical. You're gonna show that you've been slapped around or you've been hit. So this is the same thing. The longer you stand in front of it, even after seeing the warning signs, the more damaging it's going to be to you. Even if you don't feel that it's physically damaging, it's going to physically damage your chakras and throw you even more out of alignment. And you can end up with some major health issues. A lot of people manifest illness after they come out of these toxic relationships because the body slows down, and then in this recalibration, it's acknowledging like what's happened. So what does happen? It's very, very toxic for our bodies, for our minds, for our souls, for our emotional bodies, of course. It can pretty much, if someone's already insecure showing up to these relationships, it can destroy your self-esteem. If you're strong, which some of you are really strong, and you still go into these relationships, and that was like me. Like I thought I was so strong, and so why would I line up with this, right? But it was just a product of mirroring what was unhealed within me. So whatever the case, when you line up with it, it can take a emotional, physical toll on you, and you don't want to get to the point where you realize it down the line after you've already come into this relationship. You're like, wow, I have cancer. Wow, I'm sick. Or holy shit, my whole confidence, everything got destroyed. So this is about learning how to discern what these red flags are, what toxic relationships are, and really taking ownership of why are we lining up with it, and so we can get ourselves out quicker, and that we can understand why these separations are necessary in these soul type connections. Sometimes we are off base, sometimes they're not soul connections. We think they are because we sort of trauma bond. Like I mentioned in the first video, that message we received from spirit was, it's not necessarily trauma bonding, but that you're bonding your physical contract in the physical world is that you're forming a bond over the fears, the unhealed piece of yourself that you're both bringing to the table, and it sort of it dupes as, or it acts as a dupe for this feeling of like a true love bond. But what it is two unhealed people bonding over their unhealed self energetically. And then when things go awry or these toxicities appear, as you begin to see that you need to heal, you hang on to that original sort of bond, but that bond has no foundation in love, you see? So this is very important for us to see. And in fact, until it was shown that way through the cards, I've never even looked at it like that exactly. So, but that is really what happens. So how do you, I've seen, however, that twin flames who can remove themselves, whether from a twin flame catalyst or whoever it is that's inflicting the toxicity, and get into alignment with themselves and learn how to manage that connection from the 5D, they're able to say, oh my God, I don't need that connection in the physical. I feel so much better without it, actually, that I can connect to this person at a higher level and not need that in the physical. Because in the physical, we don't match up now. And in the physical, I'm coming into alignment, coming into my truth, I'm coming into my integrity, I'm coming into my, value, understanding of my value, my worth, and my connection with my divinity. I don't need to line up with this anymore. And that opens up the soul connection, if that's what this is, in the real bond, in the real contract, to show itself to you. So some of you get confused because you're mired in these cycles and you can't see or hear what that real contract is. Are you trauma bonding? Are you fear bonding? Are you really in a soul connection, or is it something that's just appearing that way because you're in these toxic cycles? Now, I'm never denying you your connection or telepathy or anything, and we can have that even with toxic people. We can have that. You can have that with twin flames can be narcissist and narcissistic. But I do believe that twin flames are here to evolve. So that means if you are with a true twin flame, that at some point they will heal on their own, or they'll change on their own. And according to common knowledge and to psychotherapist's advice, they're going to say that narcissists can't heal. I believe that soulless humans, people that come in and incarnate without a soul, these energy vampires, these soulless people, you might intermingle with as well, just for the lesson, for the healing with you. But there are some who are here to heal, and they will do the work. But in order for them to do it, you must step away, because it is not healthy for you to stand in front of it. You're going to take an emotional, physical, and mental toll. It's going to take a toll on you. So how do you recognize the signs? So one book, I'm actually going to grab it, just give me a second. One book that I should have got this up before, but I always recommend everybody reads is this book right here. It's called Psychopath Free. I've held it up before. I keep recommending it. This is written by Jackson Mackenzie. Oh, you guys can't see that because of the, here. You can order it online. It's an expensive soft cover, like $16-15 that you can get on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. So this is recovering from emotionally abusive relationships with narcissists, sociopaths, and other toxic people. So does he break down the signs and symptoms for narcissists, the classifications? Yes. But what I love about the book is that he doesn't restrict it to that. So we don't necessarily need a doctor to go say, yes, that is a narcissist that you're dealing, or yes, that is the sociopath that you're dealing with. Because we can just clump all of these traits into one header, and that header is toxic relationships or toxic people. So we don't need that classification per se, but it's good to know some of the signs and symptoms. But at any rate, you're dealing with someone who is toxic or has toxic behaviors. So I love this book. This is going to help open your eyes up to what the signs and symptoms are, and also help you see how you can take ownership of it, responsibility of it, and where your piece of the healing is. I would definitely get this if you don't own it. This is so great. This is a great tool to pass on to your sons, your daughters, anyone who has been through these types of relationships, because it's an eye-opener. Now, what I always preach is that it's not that we want to hold ourselves in separation with others. I don't promote labeling people narc, sociopath. I don't. I feel like it's a breeding ground for separation. But so if we just call the behavior toxic behavior, and if we just look at it as lines of energy and who we're lining up with, and remember, you cannot sustain energetic alignment with something that isn't a vibrationally a match for you. So when you start to heal and come into alignment with yourself, that's when you're going to want to leave. But leaving these relationships can be really, really hard. And the reason why is because our nervous system calibrates to these pain recovery cycles. So with an abuser, someone who's toxic, they might give you the silent treatment. They may pull other third parties into the picture to threaten you and play on that insecurity. They may just like be so good at manipulating you, or even covertly manipulating you that you don't even realize it. They may play on your vulnerabilities and your sensitivities. They may make you feel like you're crazy. They may make you feel like you're the narcissist. There might be so much projection that you get confused about what's truly transpiring in these relationships. But at the core of it, intuitively, you know something's not right. This is when we must really listen to ourselves. And when we have tools like this, it becomes the eye-opener that we need so we can line up with our divinity, with that piece of ourselves that knows something's not right, so we don't stay in it past our boundaries, right? And people that are toxic aren't going to respect your boundaries. That's the biggest sign, right? They're not going to respect your boundaries. They're going to turn the tables on you, and you're not going to be able to hold a boundary. And especially if you go from a place of powerlessness to in your power, that's when you're going to get the biggest backlash, right? That's where they're going to feel the most threatened, because you're leaving, because you're setting the boundary. So they're going to project even more onto you. They're going to try to hold you down or keep you under their thumb, and this is where it becomes extremely hard to leave and get out. I think there's some statistic that says like it takes most people in like narcissistic relationships 7 times before they actually going back and forth before they actually leave the relationship. And that makes a lot of sense. Empaths are masochistic until we become true empaths. So what does that mean? Like, whoa, pump the brakes. What does that really mean? It means that we're born in with these gifts of intuition, of compassion, of empathy, of nurturing others, of being able to feel what others are going through and take it on. And in our incarnations, in these tough dynamics that we choose to incarnate into for our soul's evolution, it is for your soul's evolution. It is so that you can come in and learn this now. And this is why you're here. This is why you're encountering this. You're here to be light workers. You're here to come in and really claim your gifts as an empath. We don't incarnate into the perfect situations in which, you know, the perfect parent's going to look at us and say, "Oh, you little empath, let me nurture your gifts." No, 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 no. Quite the opposite. Often we incarnate into families that are dysfunctional, where we have narcissistic parents or mothers or fathers or siblings, in which we get projected upon, victimized, and we end up giving, overgiving. We leave ourselves. We run to band-aid our family members. We leave ourselves to just deal with all the trauma and hurt and emotions around us, and to help those in our familial circle. But it's through that separation that is so dangerous, because we become masochistic as we come into our adult relationships and any relationships along the way. This is these patterns and cycles. This is what that card was earlier, that repetition. We're used to it. We're used to this. What was the card? It was like the alliance. We're used to these types of alliances. We're used to bonding through trauma and bonding out of fear. That can be very dangerous. Now, this is where the light bulbs go off. This is where your awareness comes in now. Like, whoa, I'm doing this my whole life. I've been bonding this way. I've been calling that into me. I've been repeating these cycles. So it's through our nervous systems actually calibrate to these cycles. So it actually feels like normalcy, when really your nervous system is working overtime your entire life. So it is masochistic in a way that it's damaging you. It's damaging your central nervous system. It's damaging the cells of your body, your mental well-being, your physical state, your chakra systems, everything. Everything is thrown out of whack. But yet, because you've been accustomed to it and you've carried these traits your whole life, it feels normal. It actually feels not normal to not have the rush, the threat, the dysfunction, to have someone who would be normal and healthy might not feel so exhilarating, right? And this is why we get addicted to these types of people and these types of cycles, and why we go in and why we sometimes feel like such a rush with it. Often that can even be mistaken with love. When we really know that there's true love in these types of bonds, or that there's a true soul connection, is when you step away from them and you let the soul connection just come through. And then you can find out what the true soul contract is and what this really was for you. Trying to guess at what it is while you're mired in it and standing in front of it and getting slapped and abused and whatever, you're not going to find that out. And so you must, when there's any level of abuse or unhealthy behaviors, we must step away. We must. There's no other way to find alignment. You're not going to find alignment while you're being slapped around, period. So finding this alignment is about learning what it's about to be a true empath. And to be a true empath means to be self-loving first, and that's what Mother Mary was reiterating for us, remembering who you are. That is the connection with your divinity. This is about remembering who you are. And you may have to go back really early to the roots of your fear, to the roots of this separation, to what you brought in through past lives and how you were wounded in this childhood and why that was. And that's what we do in soul coaching. That's what I do in my soul coaching practice. So if you need help with that, come to me for soul coaching. This is where we work through these painful roots so you understand, you can heal and bring forth the awareness of why you've separated in the first place. That's number one. Then you can come into alignment and start remembering who you are, practicing self-discovery, and redefining what your worth is, and really starting to set boundaries. This is that solar plexus healing. This is where you come into your power center. This is where you start speaking your truth, setting boundaries. And these are like my courses on Vibe Up. And if you guys don't know, I have it all laid out in a 1, 2, 3 easy peasy online course structure where you can break this up into the roots of your fear, coming into alignment, and how you kind of manifest the new life. And I have it all outlaid for you. But I would say the part that's the hardest is the roots of your fear. And sometimes just online courses aren't enough. We often need people to support us, hold our hands in this process, especially through the memory recall and remembering the core wounds and traumas. So that's what I do. That's what basically I help everyone in this community with who comes to me. Once you start practicing this newfound alignment, the attachment, that fear-based attachment, these trauma bonds, these fear bonds, these sometimes false connections can show themselves to you, and then you understand better what these connections are. And some of you are in connection with true twin flames who are here to actually evolve, but they need the space as well in order to create change. And I do believe that For them, they learn it through soul lessons, karmic relationships, hitting rock bottoms, they learn it on their own. This is not something that you're going to stand in front of them receiving the abuse or receiving the projections and help them see. You're just not. It just doesn't work that way. They're going to learn this on their own. They're going to come to it on their own, or their soul hasn't signed up for it and they're not going to evolve at all. And so for you to stay stuck or trapped in these cycles means that you keep yourself shut off of all that is. Remember, Mother Mary said in the first part of the video, you are needing to leave or step back so that you can realize that it is not this one love that matters, but that the love that you have with everyone, and that love is all around you. And in order to believe it and receive it, you must bask yourself in it, immerse yourself in it. And that means lining up with self and self-love. So that's my long and short explanation. How we heal past it, and get out of these relationships is the eye-opening symptoms, recognizing them, seeing that, removing the judgment and the labels, because that's not really necessary. It holds the other person in a fixed state, and it holds you in an angry place, I think, a powerless place. But it's just like seeing blanket, I've lined up with unhealthy relationship. I've been a vibrational match for this alignment. Now I got to come into union with myself. I got to move away from these masochistic tendencies and step into this powerful, empathic ownership of who I am. And through healing my deep core wounds, I can then remember who I am and practice this connection with my divinity and come into my power, speak my truth, and then begin to change my point of attraction so that I'm calling in healthier relationships on all levels. I'm removing the victim mentality. I'm removing any projection that could be bestowed upon me in the future. I'm removing my match for that vibration. I'm no longer going to be projected on by anyone. And then if this person that you're seeing as a soul, you're going to get the clarity on this. You're going to be able to connect with these people in the 5D. You're going to be able to do meditations. You're going to be able to see if that really is going to hold up with what you originally thought it was. I want you guys to get into the habit of not going to psychics, but to you navigating the journey into alignment so that you actually know what the connection is. You don't need anyone else to tell you that's a false twin or that's a real twin or whatever. You guys need to navigate the journey into alignment, and then you will know what the connection is. I'm telling you, you will know. You will know what it was, what the lesson was, or what it's meant to be, or what it is at the soul level. Whatever illusion's been here through the eyes of your wound will dissipate, and you will see that. So that's really important too. I don't know if I've touched upon everything. I know I have older videos that you can watch that touch upon all of this. I know that my ideas, the work that I do change and reshape how I teach this and what I say and how I structure it, so that can change over time. But for the most part, I feel like the meat of it, the root of it, is all the same. So hopefully I've helped you in some way, or those messages from Spirit, Mother Mary, have helped you, and maybe you're looking at this differently. If there's any tools I can offer you, amazing. If you want to comment, share stories, ask questions, please feel free to do so. If you guys want to work with me, you guys know my website, spiritualmaterialgirl.com. And I'm sending you love. Excuse me, I'm sending you healing. I know that 2020 is meant to be a year of profound forward movement, profound blossoming and blooming, and physical realization of our dreams. So let any remainder within you that's hanging on to old patterns or toxic relationship, let's heal through these and let's let them go and release them at this time. Okay? All right, love you guys. Mwah. And thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.